So here on the channel, I've been getting a lot of questions regarding how to apply the postal rule. So I wanted to post a video clarifying some of the finer points of how we can effectively use the postal rule when negotiating contracts. So here it goes. The postal rule in contract law is a principle that dictates how and when acceptance of an offer is considered effective when it is communicated by post. According to this rule, an acceptance is deemed valid and binding at the moment it is posted, even if the offerer has not yet received it. This contrasts with the general rule that acceptance must be communicated to the offerer. Key points of the postal rule include, number one, timing of the acceptance. Acceptance is effective when the letter of acceptance is posted, not when it is received by the offerer. This means that if the acceptance is sent and the offerer later revokes the offer before receiving it, the acceptance of the contract may still be valid. Number two, applicability. The postal rule typically applies only when the use of a post is an accepted means of communication between the parties. If the parties have agreed on a different method of communication, that method takes precedence. Number three, exceptions. There are exceptions to the postal rule. For instance, if the offerer specifies that acceptance must be communicated in a particular way, for example, by email or in person, the postal rule does not apply. Additionally, if the letter is lost in the post and never reaches the offerer, there may be no contract. Number four, historical context. The rule originated from cases like Adams versus Lenzel in 1818, where it was established that a contract is formed when the acceptance is posted, highlighting the need for clarity in communication methods in contract law. Overall, the postal rule serves to provide certainty in contractual agreements where postal communication is used, ensuring that parties are protected even when there may be delays or issues with the Postal Service. So you can't just send somebody something in the mail and they sign for it and here you go, you've got a contract and you owe me $1 million. It doesn't work that way, folks. I'm sorry. Luckily, it doesn't work that way. In order to have a valid contract, the contract must meet all the elements of a valid contract under the Uniform Commercial Code. The elements of a contract typically include the following. The offer, once a party proposes terms to another party. Acceptance of the acceptance. The other party agrees to the terms of the offer, usually in a clear and unequivocal manner. There must be consideration. Something of value is exchanged between the parties, which can be money, services, or goods. Mutual assent is another part of contracts. Both parties must have a mutual understanding and agreement on the terms of the contract, often referred to as meeting of the minds. Number five, the capacity. Parties must have the legal ability to enter into a contract, meaning they are of legal age and of sound mind. Also, legality. The contract's purpose and terms must be legal and not violate public policy. Written form is also important. While many contracts can be oral, certain types, like in real estate agreements, etc., they must be generally in writing to be enforceable. These elements ensure that the contract is valid, enforceable in a court of law. Under the postal rule, a rejection of an offer can be communicated by post, effective only when it is received by the offerer and not when it is posted. This means that if the offeree, the person receiving the offer, wishes to reject the offer via postal communication, they must ensure that the rejection letter reaches the offerer. So key points regarding rejection under the postal rule include effective rejection. A rejection is only valid when the offerer receives the letter of rejection. Until that point, the offer remains open and the offeree can still accept the offer if they change their mind. Also, the simultaneous communications. If the offer receives a rejection letter, then later sends an acceptance letter, the acceptance can still be valid if the acceptance is received before the rejection. This can create confusion, but typically the first communication received by the offerer, either acceptance or rejection, will determine whether a contract is formed. Also, no automatic rejection. Simply posting a rejection does not terminate the offer. The offerer must actually receive the rejection for it to take effect. We also cover use of alternative methods. If the offeree uses a faster method of communication, for example, email or phone, to communicate the rejection, that communication would be effective upon being sent and would negate the need for postal communication. Overall, to effectively reject an offer via post, the offeree must ensure that the rejection letter is delivered to the offerer, as the postal rule does not apply in the same way to rejections as it does to acceptances. So these are some of the rules that govern the postal rule and how to use it effectively. So you can't just send a letter and they receive the card and sign for the post, and then voila, we have a contract and you owe me $1 million. The equitable laws of contract enforcement still apply when using the postal rule.